Get this filth out of my cafe! Officer Brennan slams James against the wall, hot coffee exploding across the veteran's only clean shirt. James doesn't flinch. Officer Daniels upends his backpack. Military medals crash against concrete. Bronze stars, silver commendations, honors for valor scattered like trash. The morning crowd averts their eyes. A woman sips her latte. A businessman scrolls his phone. "I paid for my coffee, sir." James's voice remains steady, dignified. Brennan kicks the fallen cup. "ID, now!" "Is this because I'm—" James begins. "Shut it. People like you don't belong here." James reaches slowly into his pocket. Both officers' hands drift to their weapons. Their mistake? Assuming this homeless black veteran has no power. The phone in James's pocket isn't just any phone, and his one call won't be to a shelter. James Wilson arrives at Sunlight Cafe at 7:15 a.m., same as every Tuesday. A 52-year-old black veteran, he carries himself with military posture despite his worn clothes and the backpack containing everything he owns. 3 months of homelessness haven't broken his routine or his dignity. The morning manager, Diane, greets him with a genuine smile. She knows James always polite, always leaves his area spotless, tips what he can. He orders his usual, black coffee, 1 refill, using the gift card a kind stranger gave him last week. Across the patio, 2 white women in yoga attire cast uncomfortable glances. One whispers to the other, eyes darting to James. She approaches the counter where new employee Tyler works his first morning shift. "Excuse me," she says, voice lowered but still audible to James. "Is it your policy to let people like that stay here? He's making us uncomfortable." Tyler, eager to please on his first day, frowns with concern. "I'll take care of it, ma'am." James sips his coffee, pretending not to hear. He opens a dog-eared copy of Leadership Strategy from his backpack, revealing a glimpse of military medals inside. His phone, surprisingly new compared to his other possessions, buzzes with a notification. He checks it, makes a note in a small leather-bound journal, then returns to his reading. Tyler makes a call, voice hushed. 15 minutes later, a police cruiser pulls into the parking lot. Officers Brennan and Daniels, both white, both with less than 5 years on the force, survey the cafe patio. The women who complained point subtly toward James. James notices the officer's arrival but continues reading, one hand protectively covering his journal. The weight of their approach feels familiar. It's not the first time his presence has been deemed suspicious. What the officers, complaining customers, and nervous employee don't realize is that James isn't simply a homeless veteran. He's much more. As the officers approach, James discreetly activates the recording function on his phone, a habit that has saved him before. Officer Brennan approaches first, hand resting on his belt near his taser. Officer Daniels hangs back, surveying the scene with practiced indifference. The morning customers grow quiet, attention fixed on the unfolding scene while pretending not to stare. "Sir, we've received complaints about loitering," Brennan announces, voice unnecessarily loud. "This is a business establishment, not a shelter." James looks up from his book, face neutral. "Good morning, officers. I'm a paying customer." His voice is steady, educated, surprising the officers momentarily. "ID," Daniels demands, stepping forward. James slowly reaches for his wallet. "May I ask what I've done wrong?" "You're making other patrons uncomfortable," Brennan says. "How long have you been sitting here?" "About 20 minutes. I ordered coffee." James gestures to his nearly empty cup. "I was planning to leave after finishing it." Diane appears from behind the counter. "Officers, he's a regular customer. There's no problem here." Brennan ignores her. "Stand up, sir. We need to check for outstanding warrants." The complaining customers watch with smug satisfaction. Tyler hovers uncertainly by the register, realizing he may have overreacted. James rises slowly, military bearing evident. "I've committed no crime. I'm a veteran, officers. 8 years of service." Yeah, heard that one before, Daniels mutters. As James presents his ID, Brennan snatches it roughly. James Wilson, let's see what comes up. While Daniels runs the ID check, Brennan continues questioning James, voice growing louder with each exchange. Other customers begin filming discreetly. What's in the backpack? Any weapons? Drugs? No, sir. Personal belongings only. We'll need to check that, Brennan insists, reaching for the bag. James tenses. Do you have probable cause, officer? The question, politely stated but legally precise, ignites something in Brennan's eyes. His hand moves back to his taser. Inside his pocket, James's phone silently records everything and automatically uploads to a secure server with GPS coordinates and timestamps. Brennan's jaw tightens at James's question about probable cause. Empty your pockets. Now. The cafe has gone silent. Even the complainants look uncomfortable as the confrontation escalates. James complies with deliberate slowness, placing his wallet, keys, notebook, and phone on the table. The phone continues recording. Step away from the table, Daniels orders, returning from the cruiser. ID checks clean, but we still have a complaint to address. Brennan rifles through James's belongings with theatrical disgust, holding up the notebook for inspection. What's this? Names? Addresses? Personal notes, officer, James answers calmly. Brennan flips through pages of meticulous handwriting, business ideas, quotes, contact information. His disappointment at finding nothing incriminating is evident. And the backpack. Empty it. James hesitates. Officer, everything I own is in there. That's the problem, isn't it? Brennan sneers. Empty it, or I will. James carefully removes items one by one, clean clothes, toiletries, a small photo album, his service medals in a protective case, job application forms, and a folder of certificates. Brennan grows impatient, grabs the half-empty bag and upends it. Remaining contents scatter across the ground, including James's military honors, which clatter against the concrete. A collective gasp rises from onlookers. Even Officer Daniels looks uncomfortable. Sir, please, James says, voice tight with controlled emotion as he kneels to retrieve his medals. These are my service commendations. Brennan kicks one medal aside. Should have thought about that before causing a disturbance. Diane steps forward again. This is ridiculous. He's done nothing wrong. Ma'am, step back or you'll be interfering with police business, Daniels warns. James remains kneeling, carefully collecting his scattered possessions, face a mask of dignity despite the humiliation. More customers have phones out now, recording openly. Stand up, Brennan orders. You need to leave the premises. I haven't finished my coffee, James replies quietly. Brennan knocks the cup off the table, coffee splashing across James's only clean shirt. Now you have. Throughout the ordeal, James maintains his composure, though his hands tremble slightly as he repacks his belongings. The calculated cruelty is familiar, designed to provoke resistance that would justify escalation. James won't give them that satisfaction. But neither will he forget this moment. As James carefully packs his medals, one onlooker recognizes the Distinguished Service Cross and Honor given only for extraordinary heroism in combat, and pulls out their phone to search James Wilson's name. James finishes repacking his belongings with methodical precision. His eyes never leave the officers, but his expression reveals nothing of the strategic calculations happening behind them. I'll be leaving now, he states, standing tall despite the coffee stains spreading across his shirt. Make sure we don't see you around here again, Brennan warns, hand still resting on his taser. As James walks away, whispers ripple through the cafe. The customer who recognized his Distinguished Service Cross shows his phone to others nearby. Faces turn toward the retreating veteran with newfound recognition. James walks 6 blocks to a public park, selects a bench with clear sight lines in all directions, and pulls out his phone. Despite his appearance, the device is high-end and secured with military-grade encryption. He reviews the recording from the cafe, his expression hardening as he relives the humiliation. He makes a call. "Colonel Matthews," answers a crisp voice. "Sir, it's Wilson. I've encountered another incident." James's voice changes subtly, more authoritative, precise. Location? Sunlight Cafe, downtown district. 2 officers, badges 4872 and 5036. Full recording uploaded to secure server. Any physical harm? Negative. Standard intimidation tactics, destruction of property, public humiliation. A pause. This makes 5 documented incidents in our target precinct. Permission to proceed to Phase 2? James watches a patrol car cruise slowly past the park. Affirmative, sir. I believe we have sufficient evidence. Proceed with caution, Wilson. Your safety remains priority. James ends the call and opens a secure messaging app. He sends a single code word, Lighthouse, to 3 contacts. Across town, in a sleek office building, a woman in an expensive suit receives the message. She nods to herself and begins typing rapidly on her computer. In another part of the city, a man in judicial robes checks his phone between court cases, frowning at the message. In the police headquarters, a senior officer closes his office door after seeing the same notification. Back in the park, James makes another call, this one to a local number. "Diane, James Wilson. Thank you for trying to intervene earlier." He listens, then continues. "I need to know if your cafe has security cameras covering the patio area." "Yes, that's correct." "No, please don't provide the footage to anyone who asks. My attorney will contact you formally." After ending the call, James opens his notebook and makes precise entries: names, badge numbers, times, witness details. His handwriting is that of someone with extensive legal training. What appears to be homelessness is actually deep cover. What looks like victimization is meticulously documented evidence gathering. James Wilson isn't just any veteran, he's conducting a sanctioned investigation into patterns of police misconduct, with resources and connections few would suspect. As James makes his notes, Officer Brennan's cruiser rolls slowly into the park, and the officer watches him with narrowed eyes, unaware that he's just become the central figure in an operation years in the making. Officer Brennan exits his cruiser, approaching James with deliberate intimidation in his stride. James continues writing in his notebook, apparently oblivious but acutely aware of every movement. "Didn't I tell you to move along?" Brennan demands, standing over James. James looks up calmly. "This is a public park, Officer Brennan. You remembered my name. I'm touched." Brennan's hand rests on his weapon. "What are you writing there? Planning something?" "Just notes." James closes the notebook. Brennan snatches it from his hands. "Let's see what's so important." James doesn't resist, but activates his phone's recording function again. "That's private property, officer." Brennan flips through pages, finding detailed notes on police interactions, badge numbers, times, locations. His expression darkens. "You keeping tabs on officers? That's what this is?" Brennan's voice rises. "Some kind of anti-police manifesto?" "I'm documenting my experiences," James replies evenly. Brennan throws the notebook to the ground. "Empty your pockets again, now." "On what grounds?" "Suspicious behavior, possible terrorist activity." A small crowd gathers at a distance. Several people have phones out, recording. James slowly stands. "Officer, I've committed no crime." "Hands against the tree now!" Brennan shouts, unholstering his taser. James complies, knowing escalation serves his purpose. Brennan roughly pats him down, finding nothing but the high-end phone. "Where'd you get this? Stolen?" Brennan demands. "It's mine, purchased legally." Brennan pockets the phone. "We'll see about that. Consider it evidence." "Evidence of what crime?" "Resisting, for starters." Brennan grabs James's wrist, twisting it behind his back. I'm not resisting, James states clearly for the gathering audience and hidden recording devices. Brennan applies more pressure, forcing a grimace from James. Feels like resistance to me. Across the street, a woman in business attire watches from her parked car, speaking quietly into her phone while filming the entire interaction. What Officer Brennan doesn't realize as he confiscates James's phone is that it's already transmitted everything to servers accessible by people with the power to end his career. Officer Daniels arrives as backup, surveying the growing crowd with concern. "What's the situation?" he asks Brennan, who still has James pinned against the tree. "Our friend here is keeping records of police movements, potential security threat." Daniels looks skeptical. "In a notebook?" "And this." Brennan holds up James's phone. "High-end equipment. Suspicious for someone claiming to be homeless." James remains calm. "I never claimed to be homeless, officer. You assumed that." Daniels examines the notebook, flipping through pages. His expression shifts from suspicion to concern as he recognizes detailed documentation of multiple police interactions. "Brennan, a word," Daniels says, stepping aside. The officers confer in hushed tones. James remains against the tree, watching the crowd grow larger. Several people call out encouragement to him. Others demand his release. "What's your end game here?" Brennan demands, returning. "Some kind of lawsuit? Trying to get famous on social media?" "I'm exercising my rights as a citizen," James replies. "Citizens have responsibilities too," Brennan snaps, "like respecting law enforcement." "Respect is earned, officer." The comment pushes Brennan over the edge. He grabs James's arm, spinning him around. "You're under arrest for disorderly conduct and resisting an officer." "I've done neither," James states clearly. As Brennan reaches for his handcuffs, a voice calls from the crowd. "James Wilson? Is that you?" All heads turn toward a well-dressed man in his 60s pushing through onlookers. "My God, it is you," the man continues. "Don't you remember me? Captain Reynolds, 3rd Battalion." Brennan hesitates, cuffs in hand. "Officers, there must be some mistake," Reynolds says, approaching. "This man is Lieutenant Colonel James Wilson, one of the most decorated officers in our unit." The revelation ripples through the crowd. Phones capture every moment. Brennan's grip loosens slightly. "Stay back, sir. This doesn't concern you." "When you're harassing a war hero, it absolutely concerns me," Reynolds counters, recording the interaction on his own phone. "And I believe the growing audience here and online would agree." As Captain Reynolds creates a distraction, the woman in the parked car makes another call, this time to the police commissioner's direct line. Officer Brennan's face flushes with anger and embarrassment as the crowd's murmurs grow louder. Captain Reynolds stands his ground, phone recording steadily. "War hero or not, he's being uncooperative," Brennan insists. Daniels steps forward, clearly uncomfortable. "Maybe we should—" "I'm handling this," Brennan snaps. James remains composed. "Officers, I'd like my phone and notebook returned, please." "Evidence in an ongoing investigation," Brennan replies, tightening his grip on James's arm. Captain Reynolds moves closer. "What investigation exactly? Because it looks like harassment from where I'm standing." More patrol cars arrive, 3 in total. A lieutenant steps out of the first vehicle, surveying the scene with practiced efficiency. "What's the situation here?" Lieutenant Garcia asks, approaching the officers. Brennan straightens. "Suspicious individual? Possible anti-police activity." "He was documenting police misconduct," someone calls from the crowd. Garcia notices the growing audience, many filming. He turns to James. "Sir, are you all right?" Before James can answer, Brennan interrupts. "Lieutenant, with all due respect, I have this under control." Garcia's expression hardens. "Officer Brennan, step aside. Now!" Reluctantly, Brennan releases James. Garcia examines the notebook, then returns it along with the phone. "My apologies, sir," Garcia says to James. "We'll sort this out at the station if you're willing to come make a statement." Brennan protests. "Lieutenant, this man—" "Enough," Garcia cuts him off. Both you and Officer Daniels report to my office immediately after shift. As the confrontation de-escalates, James nods almost imperceptibly to Captain Reynolds, a gesture not of gratitude, but of confirmation. Reynolds returns the nod and slips away through the dispersing crowd. James accepts Lieutenant Garcia's card. I'll be there, Lieutenant, with my attorney. Garcia looks momentarily surprised, then nods. Of course, sir. As the officers return to their vehicles, James sits back on the park bench, calmly making new entries in his notebook. The lieutenant's arrival wasn't coincidence, it was the system responding to activated protocols. Across town, in a modern office building, a team reviews live-streamed footage from multiple angles, including James's phone recording. The operation is proceeding exactly as planned. As Brennan drives away, he doesn't notice the black SUV that pulls up beside James, or the distinguished man in a tailored suit who steps out to greet him. The black SUV's tinted window lowers. Inside sits District Attorney Eleanor Vasquez, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. Colonel Wilson, she greets him. Quite a performance today. James approaches the vehicle. Not a performance, counselor, just reality for too many. Get in, the commissioner is waiting. As the SUV pulls away, James transforms. His hunched posture straightens, his eyes sharpen with intelligence and authority. He accepts a fresh shirt from a compartment in the vehicle and changes quickly. 3 months undercover, James says, reviewing files on a tablet. This makes 17 documented incidents in the Northeast Precinct alone. And Officer Brennan? Vasquez asks. Subject displays consistent patterns of escalation, racial profiling, and procedural violations. Today marks his third documented physical intimidation of a minority civilian without cause. The SUV arrives at an unmarked building downtown. Inside, a command center hums with activity. Screens display footage from James's encounters, statistical analyses, and personnel files. Police Commissioner Hargrove rises to greet them. Colonel Wilson, good to have you back in the land of the living. Good to have a shower and clean clothes, James replies with the first genuine smile we've seen. Hargrove gestures to the central screen showing Brennan's face. Tell me we have enough. More than enough, Vasquez confirms. Colonel Wilson's operation has documented systematic violations across 3 precincts, with clear patterns emerging among 12 officers. James sits at the head of the conference table, clearly in command. Operation Lighthouse was designed to expose not just individual officers, but the systemic failures enabling their behavior. The full truth emerges through their conversation. Lieutenant Colonel James Wilson is not homeless. He's a decorated veteran who later earned a law degree and joined an elite joint task force investigating civil rights violations. For 3 months, he's lived on the streets, methodically documenting police misconduct while appearing to be a homeless black veteran, one of society's most overlooked populations. His apparent homelessness was tactical. His military bearing was real. His hidden power institutional authority backed by federal mandate remained concealed until now. The Justice Department is satisfied with the evidence collected, says a federal agent joining them via video conference. We're prepared to move forward with pattern or practice investigation. What about Officer Brennan? Asks Vasquez. James pulls up Brennan's complete file. Third-generation police officer, numerous complaints, all dismissed. Consistent escalation pattern, recommended immediate suspension pending full investigation. Commissioner Hargrove nods gravely. Make it happen. A junior officer enters with urgent news. Sir, Officer Brennan just made a statement to press outside the precinct. He's claiming harassment and setup. The room turns to a screen showing Brennan speaking angrily to reporters. This so-called homeless man is clearly an agitator trying to make the department look bad. We're just doing our jobs protecting the community. James watches calmly. Right on schedule. Denial followed by justification. Phase 3 then? Vasquez asks. Proceed, Hargrove confirms. James picks up a phone. Release the compiled footage. All channels, all platforms. Across the city, video evidence from James's encounters begins streaming simultaneously across news outlets and social media, showing not just today's incidents, but dozens of similar interactions with other officers over 3 months. As Officer Brennan continues his defensive press statement, his phone buzzes with notifications. The world is watching footage of his actions, and the man he humiliated is about to step in front of cameras wearing a tailored suit and federal credentials. The press conference room buzzes with anticipation. News of Operation Lighthouse has exploded across media platforms. Reporters jostle for position as District Attorney Vasquez approaches the podium. Today marks a significant milestone in our ongoing efforts to ensure equal justice under law, she begins. For the past 3 months, a joint task force has been conducting a comprehensive investigation into patterns of civil rights violations within our police department. Cameras flash as Lieutenant Colonel James Wilson takes the podium, transformed in appearance. Gone are the worn clothes and weathered backpack. He stands tall in a tailored suit, military posture unmistakable, credentials displayed prominently. "My name is Lieutenant Colonel James Wilson," he states. "I am a veteran of both military service and the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. What you have witnessed through released footage represents not isolated incidents, but systemic failures that disproportionately impact vulnerable populations." Across town, Officer Brennan watches the broadcast in stunned silence. His phone rings repeatedly, calls from the police union representative, his sergeant, journalists seeking comment. Meanwhile, at Sunlight Cafe, manager Diane finds her business suddenly thrust into the spotlight. News vans park outside. Her phone rings constantly with interview requests. Online reviews flood in, some praising her attempt to intervene, others condemning the establishment for allowing harassment to occur. Corporate headquarters issues a statement. Sunlight Cafe is cooperating fully with authorities regarding the incident at our downtown location. We are conducting internal training to ensure all customers are treated with dignity and respect. Tyler, the new employee who called police, is placed on administrative leave pending review. At the press conference, Wilson methodically outlines findings that extend far beyond individual officers. "Our investigation revealed troubling patterns across multiple precincts," he explains, as data appears on screens behind him. "Minority civilians were 7 times more likely to experience use of force during routine interactions. Complaint dismissal rates reached 94% when filed by homeless individuals." The police commissioner steps forward, face grim. Effective immediately, 4 officers have been suspended pending investigation, including Officer Craig Brennan. A comprehensive review of training protocols, complaint procedures, and accountability measures is underway. Social media erupts. Hashtag Operation Lighthouse trends nationwide. Commentators debate the ethics and legality of the undercover operation. Civil rights organizations release statements of support. Police unions issue cautious responses, neither defending the documented misconduct nor condemning the investigation. In his apartment, Brennan watches his career implode in real time. His phone buzzes with a message from the union representative. "Don't talk to anyone. Meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. At City Hall, the mayor calls an emergency meeting with council members. Political calculations unfold. Who knew about the operation? Who should have known? Who benefits from alignment with reform efforts? Corporate sponsors of Police Foundation events quietly reassess their associations. Journalists dig into previous complaints against highlighted officers, finding troubling patterns that went unaddressed for years. At the press conference, a reporter asks the question everyone is wondering. "Colonel Wilson, did you really live as a homeless person for 3 months?" Wilson nods. "I did. With support from my team, I experienced firsthand how invisible certain populations become, how assumptions dictate treatment, how dignity is systematically stripped away." Another reporter. "Was Officer Brennan targeted specifically?" "No officer was targeted," Wilson clarifies. "The operation documented interactions as they naturally occurred. Officer Brennan's actions today represent patterns established through previous incidents." The fallout continues to ripple outward. Sunlight Cafe corporate executives announce sensitivity training for all employees. Police Academy curriculum comes under scrutiny. Community oversight boards receive new attention. District Attorney Vasquez outlines the next steps. Criminal charges will be considered where appropriate. Civil rights violations will be addressed. Systemic reforms will be implemented and monitored. As Wilson concludes the press conference, a message appears on his phone. Officer Brennan has just agreed to testify against fellow officers in exchange for leniency, potentially exposing corruption far beyond what Operation Lighthouse initially documented. The police department hearing room sits silent as Officer Brennan enters, flanked by his union representative and attorney. Across the table wait Commissioner Hargrove, Internal Affairs investigators, and the department's legal counsel. Brennan looks diminished, uniform pressed, but eyes hollow, posture defensive. 3 days of media scrutiny and public condemnation have taken their toll. This hearing will determine appropriate disciplinary action regarding the conduct of Officer Craig Brennan, Commissioner Hargrove begins, voice formal but eyes hard. Evidence includes video documentation, witness statements, and pattern analysis from Operation Lighthouse. Brennan's attorney leans forward. Before we proceed, my client wishes to make a statement regarding information he possesses about departmental practices. The room tenses. This is the cooperation agreement taking shape. Brennan trading information for potential leniency. Proceed, Hargrove says cautiously. Brennan speaks, voice hoarse. What happened at the cafe? What I did? It wasn't just me. We were encouraged to keep certain neighborhoods clean for businesses. His eyes dart nervously. Sergeant Lawson told us explicitly to move homeless people along, especially minorities. Said it came from downtown pressure from business improvement districts. The revelation hangs heavy. Not just individual prejudice, but coordinated policy. Do you have evidence of these directives? Asks the Internal Affairs captain. Text messages, briefing notes, nothing official on department letterhead, of course. Elsewhere in the city, Colonel Wilson and D.A. Vasquez watch the hearing via secure feed. They exchange knowing glances. Operation Lighthouse suspected such connections but lacked concrete evidence. This expands the scope significantly, Vasquez notes, already drafting subpoenas in her mind. Back at the hearing, Brennan continues his desperate bid for self-preservation, revealing a system of unofficial quotas, targeted enforcement, and pressure from business associations. He names fellow officers, supervisors, even city officials who encouraged quality of life enforcement, disproportionately targeting minorities and homeless individuals. With each revelation, his own actions become contextualized, not excused, but framed within a larger system of institutional prejudice. Commissioner Hargrove listens impassively, occasionally making notes. When Brennan finally falls silent, the commissioner speaks. Officer Brennan, your testimony will be investigated thoroughly. However, it doesn't excuse your actions, which violated department policy, civil rights statutes, and the oath you took to protect and serve all citizens. Brennan's shoulders slump. This hearing recommends immediate termination of your employment, revocation of certification, and referral to the district attorney for potential criminal charges. The union representative begins to protest, but Brennan raises a hand to stop him. I understand, he says quietly. As Brennan leaves this hearing room, reporters wait outside. Cameras flash, questions fly. His attorney shields him, hurrying toward a waiting car. But the story has already shifted from one officer's misconduct to a systemic failure reaching into city government, business associations, and police leadership. District Attorney Vasquez announces expanded investigations. Business improvement district leaders issue denials. City council members call for independent review. And Officer Brennan, once the face of the scandal, becomes merely one component of a much larger story about power, prejudice, and policy. As investigations expand to include business leaders who pressured police, The CEO of the corporation owning Sunlight Cafe receives a subpoena revealing connections between neighborhood cleanup initiatives and campaign contributions to key city officials. 6 months later, James Wilson stands before the police academy's graduating class as keynote speaker. He wears his military decorations alongside his Justice Department credentials, dual symbols of service and oversight. "Your badge represents not just authority, but responsibility," he tells the cadets. The true measure of law enforcement isn't arrests made or tickets issued, but trust maintained. The department has undergone substantial transformation. Commissioner Hargrove, despite political pressure, implemented comprehensive reforms following Operation Lighthouse's revelations. Mandatory body cameras with civilian oversight of footage, revised training emphasizing de-escalation and bias recognition, community service requirements in neighborhoods officers patrol, new complaint investigation protocols with external review. Across the city, ripple effects continue. Sunlight Cafe transformed its corporate practices, becoming an unexpected model for business community engagement. Hiring programs targeting veterans, including homeless veterans. Staff training on implicit bias and community relations. Designated community tables where anyone can sit regardless of purchase amount. The business improvement districts, exposed for pressuring police to remove undesirable populations, restructured their approach to community safety, emphasizing services over enforcement, inclusion over exclusion. Former Officer Brennan, having pled guilty to civil rights violations with a reduced sentence for cooperation, now speaks to academy classes about how incremental ethical compromises led to his downfall. The City Council passed ordinances protecting vulnerable populations from discriminatory enforcement. State legislators introduced bills requiring similar protections statewide. Media coverage has evolved from sensational headlines to substantive discussions of systemic inequality, housing insecurity, and veteran support failures. James returns to his office at the Justice Department, walls adorned with commendations alongside photographs from his undercover operation. His experience transformed policy recommendations from theoretical to deeply personal. His phone rings, another city requesting consultation on police reform initiatives. Operation Lighthouse has become a case study in effective oversight and accountability. Diane, promoted to regional manager at Sunlight Cafe, implements training programs she developed after the incident. Her efforts to defend James that day sparked a commitment to equitable treatment that spread throughout the corporation. Tyler, the new employee who called police, completed sensitivity training and community service. The experience changed his perspective on authority, bias, and human dignity. Most significantly, everyday interactions between officers and vulnerable populations have measurably improved. Body camera footage shows increased courtesy, appropriate procedures, and de-escalation techniques. The transformation remains imperfect and incomplete. Resistance continues from entrenched interests. Progress requires constant vigilance and reinforcement. But meaningful change has taken root, not just in policy documents, but in daily practices and underlying attitudes. As James reviews applications for the next Operation Lighthouse in a different city, a message arrives from an unexpected source. The two women who complained about him at Sunlight Cafe want to meet and apologize personally. 1 year later, James sits at the same table at Sunlight Cafe where his humiliation began. The cafe has changed community resource information displayed prominently. Veterans discount signs visible, staff diversity noticeably increased. He wears casual but professional attire, sipping coffee while reviewing reports on his tablet. Operation Lighthouse expanded to 3 additional cities, each adaptation refined based on lessons from the original. Diane approaches with a fresh cup. "On the house, Colonel," she says with genuine warmth. "James, please," he corrects with a smile. "The operation ended long ago." "Some operations never really end," she replies, gesturing to a young black veteran at another table. The veteran sits with a police officer, not in confrontation but in conversation. Community engagement in action. "He's participating in our Veterans Mentoring Program," Diane explains. "Officers spend time with vets, especially those facing housing insecurity. Your case changed so much. James nods, satisfaction evident. Small steps, but meaningful ones. The cafe door opens. Lieutenant Garcia, now Captain Garcia, following his promotion for integrity during Operation Lighthouse, enters in civilian clothes. He spots James and approaches. "Progress report," Garcia says, sitting across from him. "Complaint rates down 60%. Use of force incidents down 73%. Community satisfaction up across all demographics." "And the resistance?" James asks. Garcia sighs. "Still there. Some officers resigned rather than adapt. Some business leaders still make calls to clean up certain areas. Old habits die hard." "But they do die," James observes. His phone buzzes with a notification. The state legislature just passed the Wilson Act, establishing standards for police interaction with vulnerable populations. Another ripple effect from his 3 months of documented humiliation. "You know," Garcia says, "what impressed me most wasn't the operation itself, but how you handled it afterward. No vindictiveness, no public shaming beyond what was necessary for accountability, just systematic, structural reform." James considers this. Vengeance feels good momentarily. Change does good permanently. Outside, Officer Daniels, who received retraining rather than termination after demonstrating willingness to change, walks his beat. He nods respectfully through the window to James. "The former Officer Brennan completed his sentence," Garcia mentions. "He's working with a veterans support organization now. Part of his community service requirement became something more." "Transformation comes in unexpected ways," James replies. As they continue their conversation, James notices a homeless man hesitantly approach the cafe. The staff welcomes him without hesitation, offering a courtesy cup and directing him to community resources posted on the wall. No police are called, no suspicious glances exchanged. Just human dignity acknowledged. This, James realizes, is the true success of Operation Lighthouse, not the headlines or policy changes, but the subtle shift in how people see and treat each other. As Captain Garcia leaves, James remains at his table, watching the cafe operations with quiet satisfaction. His phone buzzes again, another city requesting consultation on implementing their own reforms. The work continues, as it always will. Perfect justice remains aspirational, but meaningful progress is undeniably real. James finishes his coffee and leaves a generous tip. As he exits, he passes the young veteran, still deep in conversation with the officer. Their eyes meet, briefly unspoken understanding passing between them. Some battles are fought with weapons, others with cameras and credentials. The most important ones are fought through persistence, dignity, and unwavering commitment to a simple truth. Every person deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of appearance or circumstance. True justice isn't about punishment, but transformation. As James walks from the cafe into the bright afternoon, he passes a newsstand displaying headlines about similar operations launching in cities nationwide. Operation Lighthouse has become a movement, a template for accountability and reform. He pauses, noticing a young man watching him with recognition and respect. The man approaches hesitantly. "Colonel Wilson, I've been following your work since the videos went viral." He extends his hand. "Your story changed how I see things." James shakes the offered hand. "The goal was never fame, but impact." "It had both," the young man says. "I'm applying to law school now, hoping to work in civil rights. I never thought one person could create such change." James smiles. It wasn't one person. It was everyone who shared the videos, demanded accountability, and refused to accept the status quo. Change happens when enough people believe it's possible. The conversation highlights the ripple effects beyond policy reforms, how witnessed injustice transformed into civic engagement, career redirections, and personal commitments to equality. "What happens next?" the young man asks. "That depends on all of us," James replies. Cameras captured what happened to me, but how many incidents go unrecorded? How many voices remain unheard? He continues walking, phone buzzing with updates from ongoing operations in other cities. Each notification represents another step toward accountability, another challenge to systemic bias, another opportunity for transformation. The work continues, unfinished but advancing. Each documented incident creates opportunity for improvement. Each policy reform establishes new standards. Each personal interaction either reinforces or challenges existing prejudices. James passes a police officer interacting respectfully with a homeless individual offering resources rather than threats, assistance rather than intimidation. Small changes accumulating into meaningful difference. His phone rings, the Justice Department task force with new findings, new patterns identified, new reforms proposed. The cycle continues. Stories like James Wilson's aren't just meant to be watched, they're meant to be shared. They spark conversations, challenge assumptions, and inspire action. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to PAP Stories for more powerful narratives that expose truth and demand justice. Because every view, every share, every subscription becomes part of something larger, a community dedicated to ensuring dignity for all, regardless of appearance or circumstance. Join us. The next chapter begins with you.